Hi, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to, it's not the 25-day countdown anymore, it is just us putting these squares together to make, you can make a vest, you can make a sweater, whatever. I'm making a cardigan. I was originally going to make a vest, but I'm making a cardigan for myself, and then with the other set of squares, I'm going to be making like something similar, but probably just like a vest to sell on my Etsy. So the way I have this laid out is I took I do want to apologize for this video coming out after Halloween. It has been an absolute disaster over here. I've been doing my best. Because I applied at some markets, some fall markets, like halfway through making all these squares. And I didn't think I would get them because they were all like for backup spots. And so if I found out, I was going to find out late. And so like the spots were kind of discounted in the fact that instead of paying the deposit and then paying for your spot, you didn't have to pay a deposit, which was really nice. So it was technically cheaper, but I didn't think I would get a spot. But every single one of them that I applied for contacted me because like you have to send photos of your stuff, and they loved what I made so much. They were like, we've had very few crocheters, which is surprising to me because so many people around here crochet, but they were like, we've had so few crocheters and no one makes stuff but like the kind of stuff you make, and it's so adorable and yada yada yada. I sound like I'm just pulling on my own chain here, but I'm not. Like, people at these markets, like the vendor managers, owners, I don't know, were contacting me and like, we're going to open a spot up just for you. Like, you're not a backup, we're just making a new spot for you. And I was like, oh, okay. So I've been busy market prepping for that, so much so that I haven't even had time to pull my phone out and record like a little like market prep video. Like, I've been on it. It has been absolute chaos. I'm so sorry. And then on top of that, like the whole one square every day got cut back because before the markets, there was like health issues of me getting sick and family emergencies, and it's been a lot. It's been a lot. It has been a lot. But we're back. I'm sorry this came out late, and now means my other two videos are going to come out in Halloween, but I'm still going to make them because I've got them partially made and I have all the supplies for them. And honestly, I could easily make one of them. Like, one of them is just kind of more fall themed. And then the other one, because the colors, I could easily make like Christmassy. I mean, it's still not gotta be Christmassy, but it could be. Which might have just given away what it is. But anyway, this is the layout I'm making for this. So I'm doing, let me move this out of the way. I'm doing 3 squares by 4 squares. I might have to take this. I'm doing 3 squares by 4 squares. And I measured them, and then I did like my biggest measurement, which for me would be my bust measurement. And I'm gonna put this back up here so it's not shaking while I talk, so I don't get nauseous. And so I took my bust measurement, and I know since it's gonna be cardigan, I want it to one, fit over other clothes like a sweater, shirt, a few layers, and then also I want it to be a little bit baggy. So I went up in my measurement and I went to about 44 inches. And so I measured each square, and I did my bust measurement divided by the size of the square, which I forgot what it is, but it ended up coming out to needing 7 squares. And originally I had this 4 squares by 4 squares, and it was huge, and then I had like 2 squares by 4 squares in the front, and it was just too much. So I'm doing, since I need 7 squares, I'm doing 3 across the back, and then when I fold this over, I'll show it this way, I'm doing 1 across the front. So you have 3, 4, and then there'll be a 5th one here. And then you open it up, and I'm doing 1 more on the side, which when it's shut, you can see like half of it. And then you have your armhole. So you have 3, 4, 5, and then the side one would be 6 and 7, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So I needed 7. This is how I got 7. You can do whatever layout you want. I'll also try to, I think I took a photo of it on my floor, but it was when I was in the middle of doing a complete craft room rehaul, so it might look a little bit messy. And that was another thing, is I thought I was good on time for the video and everything, so I pulled everything out of my closet, off my shelves. Like, that's how I clean and organize. Like, I pulled everything out of every nook and cranny of this room and laid it on the floor, and was organizing, like, keep, sell, throw away, like, recycle, all that kind of stuff. I was just making big old piles on my floor. And then everything that I was going to keep, I was going to, like, then put back away. And it was just, I was in the middle of doing that when, like, craft shows started contacting me, so then I also had buckets of, like, market supplies, and it's been a lot. But my room is mostly put back together. I have a little bit left to do, but yeah, so I'll try to insert a photo and explain, hopefully that explains the layout a little better. So I'm gonna have to turn this sideways for a moment for it to fit. So yeah, 3 by 4. And then this is just attached by the shoulder. And then I have these 2 on the side. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And the way I did it was I hope I'm not too loud since my mouth's so close to my phone, but I sewed them together this way, and I just did that so that I had long tubes, and then I sewed the long tube together. And you can do a slip stitch, whatever. I just I went back and forth so that I could pull it and make it nice and tight. And then I just tied the corner bits together to make sure it really, and then I'm going to weave in the ends. So that's how I did it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew these together, and then I'm going to sew this one here once I do all that. So I'm going to get started on that. So I had this had to go sideways, but I felt like that was the only way this was going to fit. And usually I use my smallest darning needle, but I'm using my biggest one today. And then get some string. And the way I measured out my string was, for sewing stuff together, is I usually kind of double it up and just go like an inch past each side, and then I end up with enough like bit on the ends to kind of weave in. So that's what I did. So I'm going to take my top 2 squares, and then I'm going to just fold it over itself so I can stitch along here. And since there are 4 stitches in the corner, I'm going to find the corner, and I'm going to go into the second one so that there's still 2 on each side. And I'm just doing the top loop only. It's a little hard to see with the black one. Let me use the red one to show you. So here's the last stitch into one of these, and same here. So there are 4, so I'm going to go into the second one here, and I'm just going into that top stitch. I'm not going through the whole thing. I'm just going like that. So I'm doing that on both of them. I'm going in this one, and then I'm going in this one, and I'm pulling it to about here, and then I'm tying it twice. And then from there, I'm going to go into the top loop of the next one on both sides. And then I go in for like 5 or 10 stitches. I just go back and forth like that before I tug it and tighten it up. I try not to do more than 10. I usually do about 5. So let me do a few more stitches, and I'll show you what that looks like. And usually if I'm on the side that has like the knot where I tie it together, that's usually a good indicator that I am where I need to be to tighten it because of the size of these ones. If your square is significantly larger, then you might not want to wait till you get to the knot, because you could be like 50 and I don't know. But again, like I said, these are all dependent on the size. So if you need them to be bigger, you can either make the squares bigger or you can just add more squares. Because at first, the original way I was laying this out, I thought I was going to need like 6 more squares. So I made some just black ones. Let me see, do I still have one? Yes, so I have some just black ones, which I'm going to unravel to use on the sleeve because I don't need them. But I made some just black ones I was going to fill in some of my gaps with, but then I redid it and I was like, oh, I don't need it to be quite that large. So now I have it like this, and I'm just going to Do that. And on the other side, you cannot see it. It also helps that one side's already black, but you can't see it as you really go like that. So yeah, I'm going to finish up this side and I'm going to show you how I tie off this, and I'll be right back. Oh, actually, also on the side with the knot, there will be, sometimes depending on if it's on the side or on the side, there will be, and I wish it wasn't on the black one. Let me pull my red one up so you can see it a little better. Here's the knot. There is a stitch there. Don't let it fool you. There is a stitch there. Although if you end up skipping it or skipping any stitch anywhere, you can always just like double loop. It's fine. It will not ruin the sweater. It'll be just fine. So yeah, I'm gonna finish this off and meet you at the end to show you how to bind it off. Okay, so here is a good example. I have 2 stitches left on this one and 1 on this one. So I'm gonna go in like I would normally do. And it helps if you can get it further back, because then you can go in when you're supposed to. Oh, I am supposed to be going in this one. Never mind, ignore me. And then I go in the one I'm supposed to go in. And then I go back through the same one I just went through. So it kind of evens it back up. So to bind it off, I just came out one side, whatever side I just came out of, I go to the other side and I go back through it one more time, but I don't pull it all the way through. I then wrap it around my needle twice. I hold the end so it doesn't come off, and then I pull that tight so the loops are tight around my needle, and then I hold it in place so it doesn't unravel, and then I pull that through. And that's how I've showed you on the squares, but in case you missed it, you're just seeing this tutorial separate for your own personal square usage. That's how I did that. And now I have this. So I'm going to keep going through and like adding one, flipping it, stitching it, and then adding one, flipping it, stitching it. So once I get these 2 added onto that and I have my panel, I will be right back to show you attaching it to the shoulder. Now I'll be right back. So here it is. Here is the 3x4 back, and then here's it with the attached side, little side bit. And here is the front panel. Maybe pull this out so you can see it a little better. The 3x4. I think I might have accidentally said 3x3, but the 3x4, and then the 2 on the side, and then the front panel, which is also 4 long. So I'm gonna then attach this here, but I want to do it backwards. So I'm gonna stitch that down so that you have a bit of an idea of what I'm doing. So I need to get more string. So again, I'm going to find the last one and then go over 2 so that I have 2, because there's 4 in the middle. Like I said earlier, I have 2 that I'm stitching on this side and then 2 I'm stitching on this side. So I'm going to go in the top of that loop, and then same on this one. This one's already been stitched, so I automatically know where to put this one. I'm going to pull that through so I have a little bit of a tail hanging out, and then tie it. Then I'm just going to go back and forth. And now that I'm showing you on a spot where we'll be connecting a joint, I'll show you how to do that when I get there. or I guess an intersection instead of a joint would make more sense. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. And also, excuse my nails. I took off, well, my last set through all of the busy moving stuff around for my last craft show. A lot popped off, so I just took the rest off that I had kind of just barely hanging on. And I have not had time to sit down and put more on, so just ignore my absolutely atrocious fingernails. And this is a good example. So I'm seeing one stitch before I get to the middle on this side and then two on this side. So I'm going to go into the next stitch and into the next one on this like I would usually. Then I'm going to go into the next one like I would do usually, but then I'm going to go back into that same stitch to kind of even it out. I'm not sure how I got that uneven, but it's just one little stitch. It's not a big deal. So now on the corner, on the ones that I had stitched in previously, I'm going to go in that loop, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to make sure to move this tail out of my way. I'm going to pull that through. Oop, sorry. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to go into that next one. I'm going to go into the next one on this one as well. Go through. And I'm going to go back to just going back into the loops as usual for a couple of stitches. That way I can pull it nice and tight. And then I'm going to take these two and I'm going to tie them together. And then I'm just going to continue this as usual. Okay, so I just got done stitching that. So now I can flip it back over. And now I have the shoulder bit, the sleeve area. Let me just, and then this half turned out great. So now it looks like the other side. So let me turn this sideways so you can see it a little better, because I really don't know if I'm doing a good job explaining how this is supposed to be laid out. Okay, so on the back, you're going to have 3 by 4, and then on the front, you're going to have a panel of 4, a panel of 4, and then I'm going to leave this open because I'm going to do a trim all the way around. That'll make sense later. And then I did 2 on the side so that it goes 3 across the back. So 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7. So it is 7 squares all the way around plus trim, which is exactly what I wanted it because I took my measurement that I wanted it to be, which was like 44, I believe, and then I divide that by the width of the square, which I want to say was 5. I could be wrong. Hold on, let me check. Okay, so I was mildly wrong. So they are 6 inches by 6 inches, and then 44 divided by 6 is 7.3. So I did 7 squares, and then the 0.3 will just be factored in when I do the trim, so that is fine. So I'm hoping this layout makes sense. I originally had it 4 by 4 squares, and then 2 squares in the front, so there was, like, it was completely connected. And I was like, I need a head hole. What am I thinking? This isn't going to work out well. So this is what I have. Again, if you need it to be bigger, you can either do more squares, or you could make the squares bigger, or when you attach them, you could do kind of like how in granny squares, you can make a granny square and then you go through and do a trim to connect them all, so it does make them a little bigger. You could go through with like black or whatever color you want, and there'd just be like a little bit of a black trim between all of them. Again, whatever you want. But now I'm going to do the sleeves first. That way I can do one sleeve and show you and also get my pattern down. So I'll be right back. I went ahead and I tried it on to check out the fit, and on the armpits around these 2 corners, it is a little loose. So I'm going to take that into consideration when I'm doing it. It's not loose enough I can add another square or like half square or anything. It's just because my arm is round and not square, these corners are a little loose. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to go in like every stitch, and then I'm going to kind of like cut and bring these corners together a little more. So I'm probably going to do a single crochet around to try to fix that and figure out how I want to do that, and I'll explain that when I get back and maybe show you on the other arm. So I will be right back while I figure that out. Okay, so I started off, this is like the back square because this is the side. This is the one that's going to be on my side. This is the very first back square. And I went over just 3 stitches and I insert my hook, I did a slip stitch, and then in that same stitch I did a single crochet, a single crochet, a single crochet. And then in the corner there are 2 strings, which I stitched over them, but there were 2 strings, one from the side, one from the side. I tied them together twice like I've been doing everything else in the corner, and then I went through the corner stitch of this one and I did 1 single crochet to try to bring this up so it wasn't a big gap, and then I just continued to do a single crochet all the way over, and on this corner I did the same thing. I took the 2 strings, I tied them together, and then I went through the middle, which you can see a little better on this one. I went through the middle, I did 1 single crochet, and then once I get all the way around, and then in the corners I didn't like count the ones that's already stitched in. I went in here, single crochet, and then I'm going to go into the next one, single crochet, to kind of bring that together. And that's what I did here, as you can see, because I thought I was going to need to do a little more finessing to figure this out, but I think that's good. And then I think what I'm going to do is when I get to the corners, like whenever I do a like double crochet decrease, which you've probably seen in some of my other videos, instead of like, hold on, let me just get some string so this makes sense. I'm just gonna fake it. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over, just to kind of, this is just to show you what I'm gonna do to try to explain it a little bit before I get there. But this is my thought process. So just pretend this is me continuing on and not just starting it randomly. So what I'm going to do is, here's the very middle one. I'm 4 away. So I'm doing double crochets at this point. I'm going to go into the first one. I'm not doing a double crochet. It looks like I'm doing a single crochet. I'm going in, pulling up a loop, going into the next one, pulling up a loop, going through 2, going through 2. And then in the next 2, I'm going to do the same thing. Go in a loop, pull up, go in, pull up, go through 2, go through 2. So now those 4 have turned into 2. And then I'm just going to do a regular double crochet in the middle one. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go in, pull up a loop, in, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. And then in, pull up a loop, in, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 2, and then just regular double crochet. And I think that rounded off the corner really well. So I think that's what I'm going to do on this corner as well when I get to it. Is the middle one is just going to be a double crochet, and then the 4 stitches on either side I'm going to turn into 2. So I hope that makes sense. Once I actually start doing the double crochets, I'll show you, but that is my thought process. And now that I've done it and see how well that like kind of brought it in and curved it out, I like that a lot. So I'm just going to continue, and also as I have random strings, I'm crocheting over them like I like to do, and then I'm dropping to leave enough of a tail to kind of weave back in, because I like my stuff to be weaved over twice. So that way it makes just weaving things in a little bit easier. I don't have to do quite as much work. So I'm going to continue my single crochet all the way around to here, and then I'll be back to do the first bit of double crochets with you. So I am almost all the way around. I am 3 stitches away, and I realized I started this 3 stitches off when I'm doing 4 stitches on each side. So what I'm going to do is on my way back, I'm just going to skip this last one kind of similarly. So I'm going in each one like I'm doing a single crochet, but then I'm not going through. And then instead of working it like my double crochet, I'm just going to work it like a half double crochet and call it a day. So I'm going to go into that first one, slip stitch, chain 2, and then I'm going to do a double crochet into that same spot. Since we don't have like the space to do the 2, since I undid that one, just regular double crochet, and then go into the next spot, pull up a loop, go into the next spot, pull up a loop, double crochet, and then I'm on the middle one, so I'm just going to do a regular double crochet. And then I'm going to go into the next spot, pull up a loop, into the next spot, pull up a loop, go through, into the next spot, pull up a loop, into the next spot, pull up a loop, loop, loop. And the reason I showed you this is so that you know to make sure there's 4 or maybe even 5, just go like 5 back instead of 3. But in case you do mess up and you're like, oh no, how am I gonna do it? I just went ahead and skipped one, so there's still a decrease of 4 here. Just 1 is on this row, 1 is on this row. So it's fine. It works out the same. It's not a big deal. So now I'm going to continue to just double crochet until I get here, and I'll meet you there. Alright, so I have stopped 4 stitches out from this middle one. So I'm going to go into the next spot, pull up a loop, into the next spot, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. And I'm going to go into the next spot, pull up a loop, into the next spot, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 2, and then I'm just going to do a regular double crochet into that middle spot, and then go into the next spot, pull up a loop, into the next spot, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 2, into the next spot, pull, oh, did I just, okay, yeah, go into the next spot, pull up a loop, into the next spot, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 2. And then I'm just going to do a regular double crochet all the way around the entire thing. And then when I get here, I'm going to go try it on and see if this is helping and see where I want to go from there. So I'm going to just continue double crochet all the way around, and I'll meet you right back here. So I have gone all the way around. I'm going into that first spot and slip stitching. Okay, so I did the 2 decrease, 1 double crochet, 2 decrease on each of the corners on the bottom, and then when I got to these, I did 2 stitches in the middle, so 1 for each side. I just did double crochets, and then I did a decrease on either side. So even though there is 6 stitches across here, originally there is 4, and I did that on each corner, so there's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 decreases all the way around the sleeve. And I'm needing to do more on these corners, and then I might do more here again. So what I might do is next time I go around on the starting on the decrease and on the 1 double crochet, I'll do a decrease and then another decrease. So I do 2 on each regular corner. And then on these, I think I might do what I did last time where I do the 2 decreases, the 1 in the middle, and then 2 decreases. So there's going to be another 10 decreases all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what some of that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. Now let's see here. So I can't really properly do this corner because I mucked it up. So what I'm going to do is, let's say this is the middle one. So I can do 1 decrease. So I'm going to do 1 decrease, and then on my way back around, I'm going to do another decrease before I connect. So I'm going to go ahead and I've chained 2. So I'm going to go in to that same spot, pull up a loop, into the next one, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then I'm going to do a regular double crochet into that middle stitch. And then go into the next one, pull up a loop, into the next one, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 2, go into the next one, pull up a loop, into the next one, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 2. And then I'm going to double crochet all the way until I get to, here's the middle stitch. So when I 4 away, so I went ahead and I just did 1 decrease, but I was 4 stitches away from the middle one, so I have 2 left. I just did 1 decrease, so I'm going to do the next decrease. Go into the middle stitch, and then do 2 more decreases. There's 1. There's 2. And I'm going to show you what this first decrease on this section looks like before I finish it up. So I'm going to go ahead and go through and I'll meet you right there. So here are the 2 stitches that are dividing them. So there's 2 for this side. I'm going to go ahead and go in. That's my first decrease. Go into the next one, go into the next one, and that is my second decrease. I also realized I misspoke earlier when I said I did 10, because I did 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, or hold on. 2, 4. Yeah, so I did 14 because I did 2, 4, 6, so I did 2 on each of these, and then I did 4 on these. So I misspoke. I think I just misspoke again. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yes, so I did 14, so I'm doing that again. Goodness, I'm just all over the place today. So I'm going to continue to do double crochets and do the same 2 decreases here and here. And then before I connect over here, where'd it go? Over here, I'll do 1 more decrease. So I'll meet you when I get there and I'll be right back. So I've gone all the way back around. I have 2 more spots before I get to the beginning, and since I needed to do 2 decreases originally and I only had the space to do 1, I'm gonna go ahead and do my other one now. So I'm gonna go in, pull up a loop, in, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 2, and then I'm going to slip stitch into that first spot, and then I'm going to go try this on to see how the decreases are coming and see what I feel like I need to do next. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I just tried it on, and I think I might be good to do, instead of the 2 decreases on each side, I might do 1 decrease on each side on these corners, and then on here, here, and here, I'll just do 1 decrease. So how it's 2 spots, the 2 stitches in the middle, I'll just decrease on those, on these corners, and then decrease, stitch 1, decrease on these 2 corners here. And I'm going to do that for 2 rows. So right now I have 2 double crochet rows. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more with those decreases that I just told you about. And I will be right back after I try it on and see how that looks once I've done it. And then also, just to show you what I'm talking about in case you're needing the visual, so I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, and I'm going to do the 1 decrease. So I'm going to go into that same spot I did my chains, pull up a loop, go into the next one, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 2, so there's 1 decrease. I'm going to do just a regular double crochet in that middle spot, and I'm going to go into the next spot, pull up a loop, go into the next spot, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 2. So that's what I mean by just a 1 decrease on each side on here. And then I'm going to go all the way around past this corner, doing the same as here. And then on this one, I'm going to, right on these middle 2 stitches, I'm going to decrease them together. So that's just the 1 decrease on these 3 spots. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go and do it twice. So I'm going to do 2 rows, try it on, see how I feel about it, and then get back to you and let you know what's going on. So I'll be right back. So I just got done doing the 4th row, and the first one I did off camera, so the 3rd row, went fine. This one I did, when I first started it, just did, like, I had 2 spots, and the second one was where the single crochet would go. So I just went ahead and I did my chain 2, and in that same spot I did 1 double crochet regular, and then I went into the next one, which was technically where the single crochet should have went, but I went ahead and did my decrease there. And then when I went all the way back around, then I did a decrease on the other side. But on this one I just did regular, so I did the decrease, the regular one in the middle, and then the decrease. And on all the others I just did the regular decrease in the middle. And I think I'm going to go around and do that same thing again for 1 to 2 more rows. I'm at least gonna do the decrease, 1, decrease. Like when I say 1, I just mean 1 double crochet. So decrease, 1, decrease, decrease, 1, decrease for 1 row, and then 1 decrease, 1 decrease, 1 decrease. And then on the 4th one, I might do the same thing, or I might do 1 decrease, 1 decrease instead of 2 decreases. And then I might not decrease on these ones. So I'm going to do 1 row, see how I feel about it, do the 2nd row, and then let you know what I did. So I'm going to do that, and I will be right back. So it has been like a week or something. I don't know. It's been a little bit since I filmed that last portion, and I had the sleeve like halfway or 3/4 of the way done, and I did not like the way that it looked. So I undid it. And this is one of the reasons why it took so long, because I spent all that time working on it while also market prepping. and then I had my market. It was a whole thing, and I ended up not liking it. I undid it, and I had to kind of start all over and figure out what I wanted to do with it. And I have decided on, instead of making a cardigan, it is just going to be a vest. Because one, I didn't like it, and two, I was originally going to keep this for myself. I might sell it now, I'm not sure. But when I was going to keep it for myself, I was like, we haven't had a cold October here in years, like at all. Like, I went to a haunted house thing a couple years ago, or a couple years, it was like 2 years ago, and we stood outside, we were wearing just jeans, t-shirt, and sweating our butts off. We were sweating, and it used to be cold. My birthday is at the beginning of October. I remember it snowed before. It used to be cold, but now on Halloween it is warm. It is sad here. So a long sleeve cardigan that's Halloween themed is just not it, at least not for here. So, and also this yarn, it's pretty warm, so I went ahead and I made a vest, and I think this just looks so much better. Here's the sleeve. I just did ribbing. I'm going to show you how I did that, because I did do a couple of little tiny decreases just to give it a more rounded look. So I'm going to show you how I did that. But first, before I get to that on the sleeve, on this portion, on the ribbing around the edges that you see here now, I will explain that first. So just so everyone's clear, this with these little buddies is the right side, and like technically this is my left hand, but when I wear it, this is the right side, this is the left side. So now that that's clear, I'm going to explain this. So I started on this spot right here, and I stitched just one single crochet in every spot, and on the corners I'd skip over. I just do it in the spot, do one in this spot, and I just did all the way around the whole thing until I got back here, and then I chained 6 using 1 as a turning chain, so there are 5 single crochets for the ribbing, and I'm just doing 1 single crochet in the back loop only every time I flip it to create this like rib stitch, which I'll show you here in a minute. But I went ahead and I did that all the way across here, all the way around the corner and up here, and I stopped right here, and I tried it on so I could figure out where I need to start placing the buttons, and I realized that this first one kind of ends up creating kind of a V neck, so my buttons are going to be in the middle of the 3 last spots. So I went ahead and I put my buttons on, and I did a green one, an orange one, and then I'm going to do a purple one right here, and that is what I'm going to show you now as soon as I find what I did with it. I think I might have dropped one moment. So I have a variety pack of buttons. They're like Halloween themed because they're just greens, oranges, blacks, and purples. So I picked one of each of the color ones and left out the black, and I'm doing a green one here, an orange one, and I'm going to do a purple one right here in the middle like this. And then I just went on the other side, counted on each side until I got to the middle, and put a stitch marker in each prospective spot so I know where to leave a spot for that. So stitching them on was pretty easy. I'll go ahead and show you how I do that now. So I took a needle, and it's not a normal like yarn needle or darning needle. It's actually a needle from a sewing pack, but it's big enough that I can put my yarn through it, and small enough that it goes all the way through the buttonhole. So you'll need to find something you can do that with, and then find the middle, which looks to be right about here. Let me double check it with this. Yeah, that works. I want to make sure this is nice and flat and in view. So I'm going to take it, make sure it's nice and flat, and I'm going to go through this top one right here. I'm going to come up through there. So holding that in the middle, I'm going to come up through the back and stab until I can find that spot. I'm going to come up straight through there, and then I'm going to go across to this one right here. I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. I'm gonna go diagonal into this one. And then I'm gonna come up to this bottom corner right here. Make sure this is still flat. Come up through here, and you can do your buttons however you want, but in case you were curious, this is just how I'm doing my buttons. And then I'm going to go in through this last one right here. And I have made it exceptionally long. I didn't mean to make this long. I just needed enough to weave in at the end. But I'm going to go ahead and cut the other side. And that is my button. And then I am just going to tie these two ends. And I can zoom out now. I'm just going to tie them together a couple of times. And then I will take these ends and I will weave them in, but I'm going to do that later. I'm not going to deal with that right this moment. So I'm just going to finish tying these in. And again, if you don't want the buttons to be quite a statement piece, you can do just black buttons, which I thought about because there's so many colors going on, but I figured I'd just lean into that. And as my boyfriend says, it's very like kindergarten teacher or just teacher looking, which I'm fine with. I think that's kind of fun. So I have my buttons tied on. I'll weave in the ends later when I deal with all the end weaving. So for this part, let me rotate this. So when you get to the end, and I'll do more about how to do the ribbing once I get to the sleeve, but for now this is just kind of my crash course. I chain one, I turn my work, I go into the back loop only, single crochet into the 5 spots. And again, if you want it thicker, you could do a thicker one. I just thought this was a nice thickness. And then I'm going to go into the first single spot, go in, pull up a loop, slip stitch, and that is holding down the one we just did. And then you go into the next one, pull up a loop, slip stitch, and that is going to hold down the one we're about to do when we go up. So you're going to chain one, turn your work, go into the back loop, and you're just going to keep doing that all the way until you get to where you marked in the middle where you want your button, or if it's not in the middle for you, it's a different spot. Go until you get to that marker, and I'll meet you there to show you how we're going to be doing the buttonholes. So I will be right back. So I just finished a row and I'm about to do my 2 slip stitches, and one of them is going to be into where my marker is. So I'm going to slip stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch again. I'm going to chain one, and on the first pass, I'm just going to have it be my usual like 5 single crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to chain one, turn my work, and this is where we're going to make the buttonhole. So I'm going to slip stitch into the first one, and then we're going to be skipping 3 spaces, but we're only going to be chaining 2. So I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to go into the last one, and do my last single crochet. And then I'm going to go into the next available spot and slip stitch, chain 1, turn my work, and now for it going back up, I'm going to go into the last spot or sorry, the back one on the first one. And then I'm just going to go into the open space and do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then the first one that we did, I'm going to go into that back loop. It was a little difficult to see, so you might have to pull it close. Go into that back loop. And then you can just start working it as normal, just in the back spot, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm going to test this buttonhole real quick. So I'm just going to chain a few so it doesn't unravel on me. And I'm going to make sure that the button fits, but it's also not so big that it's going to come off. Oh no, that's perfect because it goes on nice and easy. But then it doesn't like just slip off. That's perfect. Okay. So yeah, when you get to where you marked it, you can do this in the upward one or the downward one, but either way, you're going to do your regular stitch on the first one and the last one. You're going to skip the middle 3 and just do 2 single crochets. And then do 3, or sorry, you're going to do 2 chain stitches. Goodness, I can't talk today. And then on your way back, you're going to do the first stitch and the last stitch as normal, and into that open space, you're going to do 3 single crochets. And you're going to continue to do that on these 3 spots. And I'll meet you here if you want to see it one more time, just so it makes more sense. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off, and I'll meet you back here, and I'll be right back. Wait, so the spot that had the marker in it is this one, but we do have to do 2. So I'm going to do 1, and then I'm going to do 2. So since it was the first one that had the marker in it, I'm going to do the hole on our way up instead of on our way down like we did last time. So it's the same concept. I'm going to go into, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go into the 5th one like I normally would. I'm then going to chain 2. And I'm going to go into the very last one like normal. Chain 1. Turn my work. Go into that loop as normal. And then into that open space, I'm just going to do 3 single crochets. And then into that last one like normal, so that there is still 5. And then I'm just going to continue my usual slip stitch into 2 and then just back and forth. That created our buttonhole. So now I'm just going to continue all of this, finish my last buttonhole, and just work my way around until I get down here, and then show you how we're going to sew this up and finish it off. And I'll be right back. Okay, well, last night, like I said in the last clip, I did like finish this off and I showed you how to stitch this up. However, I guess because I filmed this right as my phone was getting close to dying and it was dark, like the outside it was dark, so there's no light coming in, so my flash came on and I hadn't realized, so it made my battery die fast. And my battery died like right when I was finishing up my sentence, so it wasn't a big deal. I was like, okay, cool, I got everything I needed for the night. I wrapped it up and I was like, I'll finish the rest tomorrow. However, I just checked and that footage is not on my phone for some reason. So I didn't get to show you how to stitch this one up, but since I still need to do the other sleeve, I'll just show you how to do that on the sleeve. It's really easy if you don't know how to do it. So anyway, I still can't believe that happened, but here we are. So I'm going to start, like here is the front. I'm going to start back here just to kind of hide the seam like behind the armpit or in the armpit. And I have this square that I started that I'm just unraveling. I have a whole skein of yarn I could use, but I want to just get rid of this extra yarn, so I'm going to use that for this part. And what I'm going to do is I am going to tie a little slip stitch, and I'm going to go a few stitches over because I know I'm doing a decrease in this area, I just don't remember exactly how many spaces I need. So I'm just going to go like, here's the corner. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's 5. I'm going to go in the 5th one. It doesn't matter what you do. I'm going to go in, go over, because I like to stitch over my end so I have a little less to weave in. I'm going to go into that same spot. I'm going to do a single crochet, and I'm going to do a single crochet all the way around. And I'll show you how I do like the edges here, and then there's like a weird little corner like this corner. I'll show you how we do that when we get back around here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch along here and show you how we do the regular spots that are in most of them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I drop my yarn when I have a little bit to kind of weave in. So I'm just dropping that so I can finish weaving it in later. I'm just going to continue. Okay, so I have one stitch that doesn't have like anything in it from attaching it to this square. So I'm going to go into that last stitch and do a single crochet like I've been doing. And then on the next square, I'm going to go into that first stitch that doesn't have anything in it as well. And single crochet. So that's all we're doing with that. We're just going into the stitches that don't have anything on these just regular ones. And I'm going to go all the way around. And then when I get to this corner right here, I'm going to show you what we're doing for the kind of 3 join corner. So I will be right back. Okay, so I know I said I would come back when I get to the 3/4 section, but I did want to show you something I've been doing across the whole thing is when I get to an area where there is a string from attaching them, I'll go into the last one on this square, do my single crochet, go into the last one or first one in this one, pull this over to crochet over it, or actually, hold on, sorry, let me pull that over and then pull it over, and I'm just gonna crochet over that until there's a little bit of a tail left, and then leave it out. Okay, so on the 3 corners, so I have one more to go, so I'm going to go into that one. And then I do want to crochet over these ends. At least I do, you don't have to. So there is this one on the side, this one on this side. I'm going to go in the first, let me get the thing I'm crocheting over out of the way. So I'm going to go into that first loop on this side. And then I'm going to go into, this is kind of hard to show, the next loop on the other side. Kind of like I'm just going in the middle of those two. And I feel like once I maybe pull this through, it'll make more sense. So I've gone half in the stitch on this side, half in the stitch on that side. And then let me just pull this over because I want to crochet over it, so you can ignore that part. And I'm just going to pull through as normal. And then I'm going to go into the first stitch on this square like we've been doing. So the only thing different is kind of pulling this one up a little bit. And then grabbing that to crochet over it. And just doing my stitch as normal. So you'll end up with a little stitch kind of right here in the corner. And this is what it'll look like. And then I'm going to do the same thing in this corner where there's 3. It's just a little harder to see because everything is black. So I'm gonna just continue here and then I'll be right back. So I just did my last single crochet. I'm back here at the beginning. So I'm gonna go into that first single crochet, pull up a loop, slip stitch, and then I'm gonna chain 6. And then using that first one as a turning stitch, I'm gonna go into the second one. And I'm gonna do a single crochet in each one of the 5 remaining. So now I have 5 single crochets. And again, you can do more and have a thicker band if you want. I just thought 5 was a good thickness for what I was wanting. So now I'm going to go into the first available single crochet, pull up a loop, and slip stitch. And then I'm going to go into the second one available, pull up a loop, and slip stitch. And then I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to turn my work. And then I'm going to go into the back loop only, or back post, or it gets called several different things, but I'm just going to go into the back half of the V and do a single crochet all the way up. And then I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and I'm going to keep doing that back and forth. And then on all of the spots where a new square starts, so like here, 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 and even here and here where there's kind of like the 3, I'm going to do a decrease, and I'll show you how to do a decrease once I get right here. And for here, I'll show you how I'm doing the decrease for where there's just the 1 connecting. And then after I show you this one, when I get over here, I'm going to show you how I do the decrease when there's 3 attaching. So I'll be right back once I get right here. Okay, so I'm now to this spot. I just did my last ones and I have 1 spot left in this square. And so usually I would go in to 2 before I chain 1 and go up. But this time I'm going to go into 3 before I chain 1 and go up. So sometimes this could look like, and I try to get it as close to the middle of the 2 as possible. So sometimes it'll look like one, like this one where there's 1 on this side and 2 on this side. Sometimes you'll end up where you'll do 2 on this side and 1 on this side. But I'm just trying to get it as close to the middle of these 2 as possible, which would have been too much if I had done this one. I'd gone over 1 and I'd only be decreasing on this side, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go in 1, slip stitch, go in 1, slip stitch, and go into the third one and slip stitch, and then chain 1. And then I'm just going to continue to crochet this part as normal and then go around, and I'm going to do the 3 again on here and here, and then I'll come back here to show you what we're doing on the corner where there is the 3 instead of just the 2. So I will be right back. So I've gone all the way around. I've done my decreases on all of the spots, including this spot where all 3 join. So I'm on the spot where all 3 join again, and I'm about to do my next decrease. So I have 2, and then I have the 1 in the middle on the last one. It ended up being perfect, and I ended up being able to decrease the 3, the 1 before, the 1 in the middle, and the 1 after. But this one is going to come out a little different, but that's fine. So I'm going to go in, pull up loop, slip stitch, go in, pull up loop, slip stitch, go in, pull up loop, slip stitch. So all that to say, we're basically, instead of just doing 2, we're doing 3 on all of the spots where a square is joined, just to kind of cinch it in a little bit. And I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and then I'm just going to keep going until I get right here, and then I'll show you how to attach these. Okay, so I have just gone up, so I'm going to go ahead and chain 1. I'm going to grab these together, take my hook, go into the first one on this side, into the first stitch. I'm going to go through the first stitch on this side, and then I'm going to grab this loop and pull it through. And I'm just going to keep doing that for the next 4 spots so that I have done 5 slip stitches. And then once I get to the end, I'm going to poke my finger to make sure that hole is closed up. And then I'm going to chain 2, pull out enough of a tail to weave in, and pull that nice and tight. And now all that's left is to weave in all my ends. So I'm going to go and deal with that, and I'll be right back to show you the finished project. Alright, so this is the finished project with everything weaved in, everything done. I do still need to block it because the bottom is just a little bit warped from the corners, but once I block it, that'll be fine. But yes, I think it's so cute. I absolutely love how it came out. Okay, so let me show you the back real quick. So all in all, I absolutely love how this came out. I do wish it had been done in time for me to maybe wear out in October or wear to my October events, like the craft festivals I went to where I was doing markets. But sadly, I didn't get to do that. Or even if I could have sold this at one of those, that would have been nice, but that's fine. It's still very cute. And I did have to put this on the back burner so I could prep for those markets, which is fine because I did make money off of them. And if you're interested in hearing about how those went and everything that led up to them, let me know. I can make a video on like markets, what to expect, what happened, all that kind of stuff, what I did. Which even if you don't say you want one, I might make one anyway because it just sounds like fun to talk about. Because I mean, they were both vastly different. They were both vastly, vastly different. And they both definitely had pros and cons. So yes, if you made it in this far into the video and you end up making this or making something with the squares, or you didn't make any squares but you watched all of them anyway, let me know what your favorite square was. Let me know what you are going to make with the squares if you make them. And if you make this or something else with the squares, let me see them, post them on Facebook or Instagram and tag me so I can see them. I would love to see everyone's creations and how everyone's stuff turned out. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe for more shenanigans like this, and I'll try to have a more routine schedule. I am sorry about how everything has turned out recently. But yes, thank you so much for watching. I love you all so much, and I can't wait to see you all next time. Bye!